doesn't love the F-16? I got an easy topic here. As most of you know, the F-16 has been protecting our nation and our allies for over 40 years now. On 9/11, when, after the Twin Towers crashed, we pressed F-16s into action. We didn't have any time to load any weapons on them, but their goal was to bring down United 93, using themselves as a weapon. So the F-16 has a long history of protecting our nation, and I'm really proud to work on it. I'm going to try what Luke taught us this morning and see if that works. Hi, my name's Ritu Kangi, and I am the F-16 Solution Manager at Lockheed Martin Aeronautics in Fort Worth, Texas. And in addition to being the F-16 Solution Manager, I'm also leading the F-16 Agile Transformation. We don't really have a LACE for all of Lockheed Martin. So every program like F-35, F-22, F-16, everybody's kind of in charge of their own transformation. So I'm here today to talk to you about our safe journey, how we got started, where we are now, where we are headed, and just bring you guys up to speed on our transformation. Our challenges are very different than a lot of the customer stories I've seen. So I hope I can involve you guys in our unique challenges. Just a couple of disclaimers. I am, by background, I'm a software engineer, so this is one of the hardest things you can ask a software engineer to do. So I hope you appreciate that. The other thing is to get anything authorized for public release through Lockheed Martin. You guys don't understand what hoops I had to jump through to bring this to you guys. And I'm still not sure I have 100% green light, so I hope I don't lose my job over this. So let's get started. Okay, gonna start with some history and background. Okay, so the Fighting Falcon, it's the world's most successful combat-proven multirole fighter. And that's not just an empty claim. For an example, during Desert Storm, the F-16 flew over 13,000 sorties. And in that time, we lost only 3 fighters during combat, during Desert Storm. So that is no other airplane can meet that kind of record. We produced over 4,600 fighters, and out of those 4,600, 3,000 of them are still in operation in over 25 countries around the world. And we're still building them. That's why I'm here. So the Block 70, Block 72 version that we are building now, it's a completely different aircraft than we started building in the 1970s. It has a lot of new structural capabilities, and it has a lot of new avionics capabilities. For example, the AGCAS system, which is the Automatic Ground Collision Avoidance System, that just won the Collier Trophy for excellence. It was implemented first on the F-16. Now we're putting it on F-35, but it's already saved the lives of over 8 pilots to date. So these are the kind of capabilities that we're working on now. And the new F-16s that we are building now, they are supposed to operate into the 2070s with all these upgrades that they have, the structural and the avionics capabilities. So the total lifespan of this airplane could be 100 years. So if we are so successful, why did we have to change? Why did we have to transform? So beginning in 2013, there was fierce competition for fourth-gen fighters. And when I say fourth-gen, the big difference between fourth and fifth-gen, which F-35 and F-22 are fifth-gen fighters, they have the stealth capability that fourth-gen fighters do not. So that is the big difference between fourth and fifth-gen. So there was our production orders at that point were drying out. We had to add more capabilities because people wanted more capabilities. But the F-16 still had to be affordable. So we had to add capabilities but keep the cost down. Our production line was in danger of ending. We realized that we had to change. So we started experimenting with some Scrum teams in software, of course. We started in software. And in the 2013-2014 timeframe. So we started with Scrum and software. And this is what our initial SAFE implementation looked like. Our VP of product development, so what I'm talking about mostly, our value stream is the product development value stream. We're not talking about the production, okay, the manufacturing and production. I'm talking about the engineering and the product development. So in 2015, we were told that we were going to start with SAFE, and we established the governance team. At that point was going to be the solution manager, the value stream engineer. When I say see it there, what that means is, we love acronyms, of course, like everyone else, systems engineering, integration, and test. So we have the lead from SEEIT, the chief engineer, and the architect, the chief architect. So that was the gang of 5 that we started out with as the value stream governance team. We started in August of 2015 with SAFE, started planning out our arts and what the government's teams were going to look like. And then in January of 2016 is when we had our first PI planning event. And it was just one program at that point. And I was told specifically not to mention any customers. So I can't name, so please help me with that. So we started with one program. And we saw a lot of improvements initially. We added a lot more programs, got added on as we went on in 2017. And when I say a program, I'm talking about a customer. So, and our customers at this point are pretty much all foreign military sales. And you have to understand that we are not allowed to sell directly. We have to go through the US government. So we're essentially selling to the US government, they are selling to foreign governments. So we added on a lot more programs. And at this point, all our programs are being managed within the product development F-16 value stream. But what we are seeing now is that we have kind of plateaued. So we need to, and I'm going to talk a lot more about our challenges and everything along the way, but I just wanted to show you one picture of our evolution. So this is our value stream as it started out. we had 6 Agile release trains. And as you can see, I'm going to go through each one of them, but they are very functional. Trying to get away from functional has been one of our biggest challenges. So our odds are functional, and they're still functional. This is how we started. So we have a total of about 200 engineers total working the F-16 product development value stream. That's it. And we are supporting, at any given point, we are actively supporting at least 20 programs, actively. Those same teams supporting all 20 programs. And that changes with each PI. As we get work done, we get new customers. But typically, we're supporting 20 programs with those 6 art. And we start with a system design art. The next one, vehicle systems art, is essentially, we have a lot of suppliers, so vehicle systems is the one that does the supplier coordination. The next one, the core software, is the avionics flight software. So it's the avionics art. Ground software art is the mission planning, the ground software that we use to plan our missions. The system test art, and then the SimCell art is the one that does supports all our test labs, and they produce all the models that we use for testing. So that is a vehicle, you can call it SimCell or Lab and Technical Services. And each of these arts has their own governance team. This is what our big picture looked like starting out. Nothing really unique about it. We just like to draw our own. But I will point out that even though we put portfolio management up there, starting out, we really didn't have much portfolio management, and we're still trying to get there. But just wanted to show, this is one of the old pictures that I found as to what our big picture looked like starting out. Okay, so a retrospective of our SAFE journey. Just wanted to show you what it looked like starting out. So we did a lot of things right starting out. We trained our change agents as SPCs, yours truly being one of them, in 2015 when we got started. And our SPCs provided comprehensive training to the entire value stream. So we started out with leading SAFE for all our leadership. I remember having the VP of program management for F-16 in one of my leading SAFE classes. So we made sure all our leadership was trained. Now, I'm not saying that, training is one thing, but that doesn't mean that they transform, but we did our best. So we did leading SAFE for leadership, and then we started out with art launches with SAFE for teams. And I will say, we had classes that were, 100, 150 people. When you get to that size, I found that the effectiveness of the training definitely goes down. So I try to cap our classes at 50. That's where I find that the effectiveness of the class goes down, because you just cannot have the discussions that you need, because it's a mindset. And by just doing a PowerPoint presentation, you're not going to really change anyone's mind. You need to have time to discuss the concerns that folks have. And as our SAFE implementation has matured, our class offerings have changed. So now we're doing a lot more Scrum Master, Advanced Scrum Master, Product Owner training. This year, I taught 2 release train engineer classes because that's what our workforce needs at this point. So training is key, and we've invested in that. The cadence that we chose is 13 weeks, program increment, and how that broke down. So we really liked the 3-month planning horizon. So we made it 13 weeks just so we could get synced up on quarters. And so we had 6 PIs, 2 weeks each, 6 sprints, 2 weeks each, and then a planning week. So we kept our week 13 was our planning week. And that's worked, and that was for the entire value stream. All the arts work on the same cadence. We do PI planning at the value stream level, not at the art level, because it's not that big a value stream. And we are all co-located most of us are in Fort Worth, Texas, at the aeronautics headquarters, so it makes sense for us to. And since we are so functional, we have a lot of coordination, a lot of dependencies between arts. So we kind of have to do the planning at the value stream level. Okay, we use version 1 as our project management tool. Starting out, figured out what the structure was going to look like so we could get the metrics that we need. We build agile team rooms for all our software teams with pairing stations. And pair programming is a norm. And at least on F-16, the teams love it. And the other reason why pair programming is so popular with our software teams is because of what we do, we always require an independent review. That's part of our process. Now, CMMI accepts pair programming as a substitute for a peer review. So as long as you're doing pair programming, you don't have to do the independent review. So teams see a lot of value in that because they'd much rather do pair programming than do a review afterwards. So our sprint reviews and demos, I wanted to talk about those. This is the key to our success. Our sprint reviews and demos, they are at the team level, but every team is responsible for their own integration. They integrate their products to the level that they can. The demo is in whatever environment they need to be able to show their work. They've got simulated test environment in their agile team rooms. So if it's something that they can demonstrate in their agile team room, we'll have the demo in their team room. If it needs to be in a system test lab or somewhere in between, or even in a conference room. But most of the teams, they have a demo, and we have a lot of participation from across the value stream. We have other agile teams that have dependencies on them coming to attend the demos. We've got system design, system test, we got pilots coming to the demos. We have leadership all the way to VPs coming to our demos. A lot of times there's only standing room in these demos. And a lot of feedback, we get a lot of feedback and the teams act on that feedback. And that is the key to success. If we were not to act on that feedback, then of course nobody would come. So that's been really successful for us. And the last point there, we have a lot of early career employees. I would say at this point, we have a mix of about 50-50. So 50% experienced, 50% early career employees. And it takes about a couple of years for us to really get them, to understand our domains. There's a lot of complexity in the work that we do. But we put them on agile teams, and within a few sprints, they're able to contribute and show what they've done in these sprint reviews and demos. And that is very engaging, that is very motivational for them. So it's been a great tool for knowledge transfer, and it's really helping us retain those employees too. So training, engagement, motivation, everything. These are great. Okay, so I'm going to talk about our biggest challenges starting out. 12. So About halfway through my time, so I think I need to speed up a little bit. Okay, so I'm going to talk through these challenges quickly, and in the end, I'm going to talk about how we did overcoming them, okay? So our first rule has always been don't break F-16. What that means is that we've got 20 active programs. As we transform, we still have to meet all those milestones, meet all our deliverables for all our active programs, okay? So that's a huge challenge. Culture change. No surprise, in an organization like Lockheed Martin, culture change has been one of our biggest challenges. Getting to cross-functional teams or even cross-functional arts has been a huge challenge for us. Getting buy-in from non-software teams. Like we talk about business agility, I mean, our software teams by themselves, if they were to themselves just do Agile and system design and none of the other teams do it, it's gonna hurt us. We saw that because we got a lot more software done. But when we put it on the hardware, when hardware finally showed up and we put it, nothing worked. So we had a lot more rework because we were developing Agile. I mean, software in an Agile fashion doesn't help us. We all have to move together to get agility. Now, funding continuous improvement activities, we have to charge every activity. All our contracts are fixed price, fixed scope contracts, and finding the money to fund continuous improvement that's going to benefit all the programs sometime in the future, how do you do that? Our test labs and resources, there's a finite number of test labs and resources. And with Agile, you need to do a lot more testing. But our testing resources are not growing. I mean, funding a new test lab, system test lab, costs millions of dollars. Most of our programs are pretty small. Nobody can fund a new test lab. So with more work, with more testing, it becomes an issue. How do we get all this testing done with the resources that we have? Prioritizing our work across 20 plus active programs. To each program, they're the most important. But I, as a solution manager, have to figure out, as a business, what are our priorities? But program management, their answer always is, well, everything has to be done. You know, everything's important. But we still have to, we can't get everything done. So we need to prioritize. Limiting work in progress, that is a foreign concept to us. Very hard to get across to engineers, as well as we don't say no. We accept all the work, and we start everything. And doesn't really matter. I mean, of course, the more you start, the less you're going to get done. But it's a challenge for us. Measuring earned value in an Agile environment, always a challenge. I mentioned all our sales at this point, most of our sales are foreign military sales. So we don't really much have end customer interaction. It's mostly, you know, we can use surrogates, but we do not have a lot of end customer interaction because of what we do. And I put down there our performance review process because it was very oriented towards individual accomplishments, not team goals. We were actually being ranked against each other. And that is not conducive to an Agile team and their success. So I saw that as a big negative. So could we get waterfall out of our process? I mean, we've been doing waterfall for so long that trying to get that out of our process, big challenge. So I'm going to go through this really quickly. So we, of course, break large capabilities into smaller features, and then we go through this, you know, the iterative development cycle. I don't need to explain it to you guys. Design, requirements design, system test, and then we were never really able to bring flight test into our value stream. A lot of times it's at an Air Force base. It's not local. It's out of our control. And so when we say delivery, we're meaning delivery to flight test a lot of times. I wish we could bring them into the value stream, but the reality is we're not there yet. So our objective has always been to reduce risk incrementally and deliver value faster. So how does that break down into PIs? You would think that we worked a few features through this iterative cycle, the highest priority features, and then the next PI we worked on a few more through that cycle, till we got to a minimum viable product that was a good, a set of capabilities that we could send to flight test. But that's not what we did. What we did is this. We do system test, system design for one PI, and then at the end of the PI, if the design's done, the high-level design's done, it goes to implementation. So it goes to the implementation arts, and then the PI after that, it goes to system test. So we're essentially waterfalling our capabilities into PIs. System design is always working one PI ahead, and system test is always one PI behind. So it's taking us 9 months to deliver any value to flight test because of this. And why we are doing this essentially is because of the handoffs between our functional arts at the end of a PI, okay? So we've imposed this restriction on ourselves, and it's taking us 9 months to deliver any value to flight test. So in our typical program, average size program, it would take us 3 to 4 years normally to get anything to flight test, because we would get everything done for the program, and then it would get to flight test, okay? So if we can break it down to 9 months, like we have done, it's still a big improvement. But that was just supposed to be step 1. But 3 years later, we're still there because of our functional arts. And so talking about cross-functional teams, at this point, we do have several successful cross-functional teams. They're product-centric. They're not general purpose. Because of the domain knowledge that we need, when we have something that we need to work on, we put a cross-functional team together based on the skill set needed. It's not like we've got cross-functional teams that can do any work because of the domain knowledge that we need. So, but it's taken us a while to get there, to cross-functional teams. So we think we're special, just like everyone else. So I wanted to talk about some of our constraints. Okay. So the case against cross-functional teams, why can't we get to cross-functional teams? In our environment, we're concerned that we would lose design integrity. We would lose component integrity if we were to partition that knowledge across Agile teams. We would lose the big picture that we need to maintain the integrity of our design. We would lose domain knowledge. So our design guilds and component teams, they all say that to be able to train the early career employees into becoming subject matter experts, they need to work together as an Agile team and be co-located all the time. So we've had success with experimenting with system design engineers as product owners of software teams, and that's worked great. but we just don't have the number of design engineers, experts that we need to be able to do that. If we could, that'd be great. So our solution is epic teams. Okay, I need to speed up. So for each major epic during initial development, we form an epic team that has a lead from each Agile release train, and they plan together during PI planning. The epic teams do the plan for the PI, and they figure out how to coordinate all the dependencies between the arts. And the other thing is that during execution, that epic team keeps on meeting in an epic scrum every week, and they see how they're doing to their plan, if they need to make any adjustments, and they elevate any impediments to the value stream as needed. So prioritizing work across all programs, how do we do that? So I do this with, we have a custom widget calculation that I use to assign business value to every feature in our backlog. And since we have so many programs, even if every program has 1 or 2 features, it ends up being a lot of features that our teams are working on in each PI. So this spreadsheet, I start putting it together right after PI planning to, for the next PI. And we get that validated. We're continuously validating that. Program management blesses the prioritization that we do. And the teams take that and plan their work, start planning their work. We do a lot of pre-planning, maybe too much. And then it really helps us because we can see all our work in one place. And we're trying to get to using our project management tools, trying to get away from Excel, but you know how it is. I mean, engineers, we love Excel, so. Okay, so our biggest challenge is the report card. I wanted to talk to you about how we did. So we figured out how to execute and transform while being able to meet all our program milestones. Culture change, I have a slide on that. There are huge improvements that we've seen over the years. I can tell you, I've been at Lockheed over 17 years, that I have seen more change in the last year than I saw in 16 years before that put together. So things are changing. So if you can notice, I put a darker green, if I said we're doing really well in that area, and a lighter green if it's still a work in progress. So cross-functional teams or even cross-functional arts, that's still a work in progress. We're still working on it. Getting buy-in from non-software teams, we are putting a lot of resources into that. We're really trying to get to cross-functional teams, bringing in all the functions at the team level, because what I've seen is that at the team level, the engineers work great together as long as the functional leadership stays out of it. It's where the functional leadership comes in, that's where, and they start overriding the decisions that the team's making, that's where things fall apart. But if you leave the engineers alone, you leave they work great together. That's what I've seen. Funding continuous improvement activities. Now that one, we've actually had to start projects that we think are gonna show us great returns in the long, without even having funding. And then proving results and then figuring out how to fund them. So we've had to do a lot of innovative things to overcome that one. But I'd like to say that, yeah, we're doing pretty good. Limited availability of test labs and resources. We're doing a lot of stuff where we're using automated testing. We're using simulated test environments where we can offload our system test labs. So we're doing a lot of workarounds to get around that one. We figured out how to prioritize our work. Limiting work in progress, that's still a challenge. Measuring own value in an agile environment, we've got tools in place to do that. It's not that hard. We do that right out of version 1. So, of course, we're great at writing our own tools to do that. Lack of foreign military sales customer interaction. We use pilots as surrogates. You know, whatever we can do to get feedback from our customer, but it's not like we can get them to come to our demos or anything. And we have really changed our performance review process to the focus. About 50% of weight in our performance review process now is on behaviors and engagement. And the rest of 50% is on performance. So a big change in there that we've seen. Okay, what we would do differently, so I would start out with cross-functional, product-centric teams. I hate functional art, I wouldn't do that at all. Focus on value delivery, like we've heard over and over again. And one of the biggest challenges we have is working with our suppliers. They're always late. I mean, I don't want to say all of them, but a lot of them are late a lot of times. So I would have them participate in PI planning. The next one, modify our contracts with suppliers to require intermediate deliveries. Now, of course, that's going to cost us money. But we at least need to do an ROI to see if that money is going to save us money in the end run. So I really think that we need to explore that one. Bring all F-16 functions into a value stream. The next one, we found out that every function has their own roadmap. It's not like we don't have a roadmap, but we're not all aligned to a single roadmap. Because of lack of lean portfolio management, everybody is kind of figuring out what their roadmap is. So we need to align to a single roadmap, figure out what our strategy is as a business, and then define a roadmap that we are all marching to. Practice decentralized decision-making, empower the teams, celebrate our successes as a team. And the last one, we are working on that. We've got info radiators all throughout. And so that's a recent change that we made, and it's been really positive. It's really motivating and engaging to see all the successes that we are having as a team. So how has SAFE helped us improve? We're now looking at all our work in one place. We're good at planning and executing to about 90 to 95% of our work that we plan. And you have to understand, I mean, you would think 90 to 95%, that's great. But at Lockheed, anything less than 100%, what we get beaten up, rather than saying, oh, great, you got 90, 95% of the work done, the focus is on the 5% that didn't get done. So we need to get away from that. We're successful in meeting our program milestone. There's a big improvement in collaboration across the functions and the cross-training that's happening. We're able to attract, we're able to energize, and a big challenge for us has been retaining those early career employees. After a couple of years, after they get the experience, if we do not really involve them, it's about the work, the engagement, not about the money, they will leave. They'll find something that is more fulfilling to them. But through the Agile teams, through the engagement, through the culture change, we are really trying to retain, and we've seen a big change in that too. Challenges still ahead of us. Defects detected sooner, but no significant decrease. Okay, I think I'm gonna move ahead. How do we measure our success? There's half a second left. I mean, half a minute left. We have a lot of metrics, maybe too many, but we really haven't figured out how to measure the delivery of business value. We still haven't figured that one out. There's a couple of ones that I mentioned here. The better measure that I see is the feedback we get from our customers through third parties typically. The best measure is the new business that we have generated. Lockheed just opened a new production facility in Greenville, South Carolina. And this is Michelle Evans, our CEO, speaking at that. I'm not going to read it, but she talks about the future of the F-16 and what it's done, what it's still doing for us. On the right, there is a quote from our F-16 flight test pilot, where he talks about the success. We still call releases tapes, and we just had a cross-functional team, and how successful that was in giving fast feedback to our teams and helping us improve. Culture change, okay, do I need to stop or can I take another minute? Okay, they're not booting me off? Okay, so culture change, there's a huge change that we are seeing. Understanding that the people are a resource, the agility comes from them, you can't make anyone do Agile. There is a huge focus on servant leadership. We're not just talking the talk, we're actually walking the walk. And we have an executive action team, and we have daily scrums going all the way up to the executive action team with VPs trying to resolve any impediments every day. We have a culture of accountability initiative, and that gets through everything we do. And that's been very successful. Everything we do ends with asking for feedback, and that gets acted on. We've got all kinds of surveys going on. So here are some examples of culture change feedback from, I'll just read one of them. I don't want to ever put my headphones on anymore because I may miss a learning opportunity via discussions in my Agile team room. And that comes from inexperienced engineers. That is not from an early career employee. But the culture of our F-16 team is sort of that they really like working with each other. I can't say that about all our programs, but the F-16 team, they've been working together since the beginning. They've been very successful, and they really like the Agile team room environment. So there's some others there. So where do we go from here? What we are calling our capability factory. I talked about where we are, but we've identified, we had a transformation workshop in January to identify what are the next big steps we need to work on. And so we looked at speed to delivery and having a single roadmap and vision for the entire value stream as the two most important things that we need to work on to achieve our objectives for affordability and effectiveness. So we've got a lot of initiatives in place that we are actively working, and I'll go through them really quick. We are implementing lean portfolio management to identify what our strategic intent is for F-16 so that business development is selling the same thing that we're building. You know, simple things like that. So we're working on one F-16 roadmap that's going to align our operations to. We are implementing a DevOps continuous integration, continuous delivery pipeline. We're trying to get to, in very near future, we're trying to get to automated daily builds that system tests will use every day. Rather than waiting for a release to test, system tests will use automated daily builds every day. We're going to more of a continuous planning model. We're trying to deliver value to flight test every 2 to 3 months. And then lastly, we're leveraging automated testing. We're actually using AI to improve our automated testing. And we're trying to offload our test labs by utilizing more and more the simulated testing environment on desktops. So in summary, we've made a lot of advances since we started our SAFE journey. We've overcome a lot of challenges, but of course we're not going to stop here. Lockheed Martin as a whole has a huge digital transformation initiative in place. And we're going with DevSecOps, Agile, of course. And so F-16, we're shifting our Agile transformation into a higher gear, leveraging SAFe principles to get us to the next level of affordability and effectiveness. So who here wants to buy an F-16? I'll be taking orders afterwards.